The Milwaukee PBS Next Avenue Community Conversation Series is made possible through generous funding provided by the Helen Daniels Bader Fund, a Bader philanthropy.
Thanks. Hi, I'm John McGivern, and this is Next Avenue Community Conversations. Our topic for conversation tonight in Ripon, Wisconsin is Alzheimer's and its effect on the family. When the producer of the show and I sat down to talk about what this evening would look like, I shared with her that my life until recently has not been affected by Alzheimer's. No one in my immediate family, no one in my circle of life family has suffered from Alzheimer's until recently. My father died at the age of 54. He died of a heart attack. My mother is 90 years old, and she spends her days reading the newspapers that she gets on a daily basis. That's the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, the Chicago Tribune, and the New York Times. And she spends her evenings watching PBS. Her favorite program is PBS NewsHour. Yeah. Her second favorite is Around the Corner with John McGivern. That's my mom. Just last summer, a friend of mine revealed that he was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. He's in his mid-40s. He was diagnosed 2.5 years ago. And in that 2.5 years, he no longer works his incredible job at that international company in downtown Milwaukee. He no longer drives, and he spends his days in memory care, where his partner picks him up after his job, where he gives home care to my good friend. He is losing a part of himself on a daily basis, so my life is now affected by Alzheimer's. And for all of us whose life has been affected, we have questions, and we are in Ripon with some experts, and hopefully they can answer some of these questions that we all have. So for an understanding and a foundation of Alzheimer's, let's take a look at this.
Alzheimer's disease is a neurological disorder that causes irreversible changes in the brain. It is a silent disease that targets the mind and the memories of the affected. According to the Alzheimer's Association, 1 in 9 Americans over the age of 65 has Alzheimer's disease. By the year 2050, the number of people aged 65 or older with Alzheimer's disease will reach to over 13.8 million.
Well, it's not an exaggeration to call it an epidemic. So we have about 5.3 million people right now in the United States with Alzheimer's. In Wisconsin, about 120,000, and in Milwaukee County alone, about 17,000. About 50% of the people with Alzheimer's actually have not been diagnosed, or they're misdiagnosed. They're just kind of out there in our communities. So it's a healthcare crisis, and many of the people don't even know they have it.
We're talking with Dr. Richard Gauthier, family medicine doctor at Ripon Medical Center. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and
Good to see you. So you're a family medicine doctor.
Correct.
You're a practitioner of family medicine, meaning that you deal with people from cradle to grave?
Exactly.
So are you the first to diagnose?
Usually, yes.
And are you family medicine guys and women the ones who are in the trenches fighting?
We're on the front lines.
You're on the front lines of this disease. When I was growing up, I did not know of Alzheimer's. I hadn't heard of Alzheimer's. Is it new? Was it called something else back then?
Well, first of all, Alzheimer's is one type of dementia. Dementia is kind of a category of how we describe when people start to lose their cognitive abilities. And dementia goes back to as soon as history started being written. But it wasn't a common thing because people didn't live very long.
It was always there, though.
Always there.
So Alzheimer's and versus dementia versus getting old, is it all the same thing?
Dementia is a category.
Okay.
And dementia is not an inevitable part of getting old.
Okay.
Because there are persons who get old who are sharp to the very last day. So it's not inevitable. It is associated. So the older a person becomes, the odds go up, but it's never 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so old age and dementia are not the same thing. There's a lot of different types of dementia, of which Alzheimer's is the most prominent, most common. But Dr. Alzheimer saw different changes microscopically in the brain, things in there, proteins in the brain, in places that they shouldn't be. And I kind of think of it like dirt in your computer. It affects the circuitry, it affects how well it works, and they're still working out why, how much of it is genetic, how much of it is environmental. Those are still being determined.
I read that Alzheimer's is the third leading cause of death in older people.
Mm-hmm.
Why and how is that?
Well, as the brain starts not functioning as it used to, making executive decisions, making good judgments, forgetting things, the health starts to deteriorate as a consequence of that. So people with Alzheimer's typically end up dying of malnutrition. They forget to eat. They die of infections because their swallowing isn't as strong as it was before, so they breathe in things instead of swallowing them. They don't get as mobile, so they become more sedentary, more bedridden, and then they get consequences from that. Those are the things that actually push them over the edge.
Yeah. The producer and I were sitting there talking about this evening, and we talked about early diagnosis. And is it best to have that? Does it make a difference? Is it better that we just find out later?
I'd like to say that there's a pill, and if you just got this early enough, it would make a difference, and we aren't there yet. Okay, that's coming, but we're not there. But there still are really important reasons to identify that it's happening early. First of all, you want to make sure that the diagnosis is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of causes of dementia, and some of the others, other than Alzheimer's, are fixable. And so if somebody you're concerned has Alzheimer's, the sooner they come to the doctor, the sooner we evaluate it, the sooner we can find if there is one of those secondary problems that we could do something to fix. The second thing is even somebody who's already beginning to have Alzheimer's, you can change the course of it somewhat by eliminating things that interfere. And so there are some things that are going to make things deteriorate faster. And if you can eliminate those, identify it, eliminate them, that makes a huge difference. And then finally, if people are developing that, beginning to plan while people still have most of their faculties. Mm-hmm. When the family has time to think about what's coming and make the kind of decisions as much as you can, such a thing. Make it as healthy as we can for everyone.
Can you talk about how you deliver the news? And is there hope delivered with that news, Doctor?
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
Yeah. So it's usually a process. So it's not quite like a cancer diagnosis where you have a test and you get a biopsy and you come to the office and we've got bad news. It tends to be more of a process. So it tends to start something where usually a member of the family raises a concern. And the person comes in and we talk and try to get a sense as to what's the family seeing, what's the patient seeing, what's the background. And as we learn more about what's going on, we do the things, the tests, to eliminate those other causes and try to really identify what's going on. Then as we're working together, as you kind of develop an understanding. Everyone does things different. And so I don't personally like to throw the word Alzheimer's out because it has so many connotations that aren't always accurate.
Yeah.
And so, we'll talk initially when it's memory loss, and then as things get on, it might be euphemistic, but like cognitive decline. I think you should always give people hope because we don't know what's coming. And like I said, there are definitely things we can do to change the trajectory. Yeah. We may not be able to change the final result, but we can definitely change how it goes.
The best is that there's always hope.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Godey.
Thank you.
So you've gotten the news, you've gotten the diagnosis. What's next? Let's take a look.
thing that was most agonizing to me was losing this giant of this man. When I would talk to him and I would see that blank stare, or when we would finish talking to longtime friends and he would say, "Who was that?" And I would say, "Really?" And he said, "Well, I have no idea." Many times I just wanted to grab him and shake him and say, "Ed, I know you're in there. I know you're in there. You have to come out. You have to come out." But because of the progression of the Alzheimer's dementia, that wasn't possible. We need to know that there's help. There are resources to help you cope with this caregiving role that people must have.
We need to know that there's help and that there's resources. I'm thrilled to be talking to Joe Wenzel, Director of Population Health and Care Transitions with Agnesian Healthcare. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you. And Kristen Dorsch, who's the Adult Protective Services Social Worker for Green Lake County. How are you guys?
We're great.
Thanks for helping us. So is the doctor the first to diagnose, and then are you the next to see them?
Doctor usually, is the first to diagnose, and then a social worker or other, maybe an RN would also be in there to speak with them as well to answer some of those questions. Absolutely.
Can we first share some stats? How many folks are living with Alzheimer's in the county or in this community? How many are diagnosed a year?
Well, I work for Green Lake County. The statistics that we've been given are right now, the focus is on 2020. And right now it's looking like about 525 to 530 people will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And that may not seem like a lot, but we are a small county. We only have 19,000 people in our county, so that's a pretty big chunk. It's going to progress up. By 2040, they're saying probably around 850 or more in our county. And again, we're small, so that's a good chunk for us.
So it's on the rise.
Yes, definitely on the rise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are the first questions that these with diagnosed ask? And are they the same questions that the family asks?
I think anytime you get a diagnosis such as that one, I think it's natural just to kind of ask questions, such as, how's this going to affect my quality of life? And what's my life expectancy? How's this going to affect my family?
A lot of families don't understand this disease, and that's understandable. You don't know what you don't know. So they want to know how this is going to go along. Some families will wonder if there is a cure. There's not a cure. A lot of families will have concerns about driving and how to manage the person they're caring for with Alzheimer's when they decide to get behind the wheel. Those are the discussions they usually want to have. Those are important questions to ask. But things that I think they should know is really to just be educated on what this disease is. A lot of people don't understand it. They get frustrated, and it's difficult for them. One of the things I would encourage families to do is to have the person who's diagnosed with Alzheimer's complete their advanced planning, do their power of attorney, that sort of thing, because if that does come into play down the line, you can catch them when they're still able to make those decisions for themselves.
Because those that get the diagnosis and their families, it's their first time. So who plays advocate? Are you then the advocate for this person diagnosed?
I would say we do start as an advocate, and I think that it's important for us to really build that support system for them. We have a support system within the healthcare world with their provider and nurses and social workers, but then we also help them to really build that support system outside of the healthcare needs. So somebody within the family and friends, somebody that can meet their spiritual needs and their social needs. So I think that's a key part of that early diagnosis, is building that support for them.
And this disease progresses in a time frame where the information can happen. Like they're able then to understand the progression and what they need to do on that timeline, yes?
Absolutely. It's important that they make their wishes known to their family while they still can. Do you want to be in a facility at some point? Do you want to stay at home as long as you can? A lot of patients can have concerns about being a burden on their family, and so they want to make sure that those wishes are known early on. So.
Yeah.
I think it's important to always keep them a part of the conversation. Just because they're diagnosed with this doesn't mean that they suddenly are done making decisions for themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Especially earlier in the diagnosis, if they were diagnosed early. they still should make decisions. They still are able to do that. And even when they move into the later stages too, if it's good to include them. Maybe they're not able to answer everything, but you want to make sure you're respecting their wishes too. They are still people.
And it's important to remind the families of that as well.
Absolutely.
Yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If we could wrap this up with a question, is your conversation different today than it was 5 years ago? And what's your hope for a conversation that you're going to have 5 years from now?
There's similarities. I mean, we still don't have a cure, and we still don't have a lot of treatment options, which is unfortunate. But I think that more is known about the disease now. I think that it's being talked about in our communities. We have resources now. We have more support for families with this diagnosis. And so I think there's just a little more hope than there was 5 years ago. You know, and my hope 5 years from now, I mean, there's always hope. And so, you know, I'd love to say, yep, we'll have a treatment plan for it. They're always testing new drugs, and they have clinical trials, and I've heard they have some that are very promising. So I hope that would be 5 years from now, we'd have more options to give to families. So.
Yeah.
I agree. 5 years ago, we weren't talking about this as much as we are now. Now the state is putting a little bit more of a spotlight on this. And they have a dementia task force that they've started up. They're giving more attention to this. So we are going in the right direction than we were 5 years ago. Hopefully we continue to do so. I think 5 years from now, aside from hoping that we get closer to a cure, for my own selfish reasons, I've seen how impactful having a dementia outreach specialist in our county is, and we share her with 2 other counties. She could easily do 40 hours a week just in our county alone. We need the programs that she's offering, and we need just one person. We don't want to share anymore.
Right. That's a good hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jill, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much, Kristen. You were great. We appreciate your help. So we've discussed care for family members living with Alzheimer's. Now let's take a look at this.
Adriana Guevara is one of many people in the country who took on the role as a caregiver for her parents since they were diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Being a caregiver for a family member with Alzheimer's disease is not an easy task. Studies have found that these individuals are more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression, and often need social support. While there's currently no known cure for Alzheimer's disease or treatment to effectively reverse the damage, the ongoing research studies have helped in developing resources to create awareness and help families to understand how to live better with this disease.
Let's talk home care. We are sitting with Lisa Kirker, Director of Home Care, Hospice and Palliative Care, St. Agnes Hospital Home Care and Hospice Hope. And we're with Dr. Kumar, Internal Medicine, Hospice and Palliative Care, Agnesian Healthcare, and a member of SSM.
Thanks
How are you
for
guys?
having me.
Good.
Good to see you. Let's discuss home care. Can any family handle home care? What are the necessary requirements? What preparations and safeguards need to be in place when it comes to home care?
Can a family handle a person at home? Well, let me tell you about home care. There's 2 different types of home care. There's a skilled home care, and there is a supportive home care. So skilled home care will come to the home, and a skilled nurse, a registered nurse, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, social worker. That's a skilled home care. Then we have a supportive home care as well, and those are personal care workers that help with custodial needs of the patient, bathing, running errands, doing some housework, things like that. So those are the 2 types. Now, a skilled home care is relatively short-term. Custodial is more of a longer-term service. So can somebody handle it at home? Well, that is all pretty individualized. Some families can handle it at home and some can't. You know, let's face it, there are so many other demands that we have on our lives that caregiving is one part of that. And so some people have to care for their children as well as caring for their aging adults. So I think everybody is just different in that and what they can handle and what they can't handle.
Yeah, I would add that home safety is a big concern. You know, some homes are just not equipped. You know, they may not have the safe bathrooms, and they have too many steps sometimes, and we have older homes in this community, so sometimes bathroom is upstairs, and as people get advanced dementia, they can't go up and down stairs. So I would say it's possible But that's some of the things we do in home care is we do a home safety evaluation, and so sometimes physical therapists, registered nurses, occupational therapists can come and visit you at your home and do a home safety evaluation. And they can then help you make some modification to your home, which is going to be easier for the patients and their families to stay at home.
Is there a number one challenge that home health caregivers face?
I think
Fatigue.
emotional, yeah, it's very hard on you emotionally.
Sure.
It's just, it's physically hard, but it's also emotionally quite hard. And then financially it's hard sometimes because you have to keep a job. Sometimes people have to either reduce hours of working or stop working altogether to take care of their elderly parents at home. So it's hard all the way around.
Yeah. Are there support groups for family caregivers?
There are
For those giving care?
Yes, you
There are.
bet. So I think that that's the thing that you can't lose sight of. You have to take care of yourself as the caregiver in order to take care of that person. So, you know, whether that be you're taking them to, you need a respite break, so you make sure that they go to adult daycare services, or that you just go to a support group yourself for that camaraderie to be able to talk to other people who are in that same situation. Certainly your local county, most counties have an Aging and Disabilities Resource Center, and that's always a great place to start to look for those resources. And then also there's the Alzheimer's Association, which has a lot of great resources as well.
Resource-wise, what do you tell your patients?
You first have to have an excellent social support group. So if it falls on just one family member, it's really hard. You have to enroll other people to help you. You have to first take care of yourself, your emotional well-being, your physical well-being. You have to exercise. You have to take care of your body, mind, and spirit.
So the patient's family then becomes your patient?
Right.
Because they need to know all this,
Exactly, exactly. So I tell them it's challenging, it's possible. You can take care of your loved ones at home, but it's going to be challenging at times.
Yeah. And they hear it, I bet, and experience it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we talk about Homecare Resources, all of the resources, what services can be brought in from the out in?
I think of it this way. There are 3 services that can be delivered to your home. One is home care, obviously. The other is we do bring in palliative care. So we have an excellent palliative care program where we have support of an RNs, chaplains, social worker, volunteers who can help you. And then if the dementia gets really advanced, and by advanced dementia means if a person is, say, dependent on most activities of daily living, if they speak less than 5 meaningful words a day, and they're not eating as well, they may be incontinent, that's the time you need to consider hospice care.
Right. Which is at home as well.
Which can be delivered at home, yes.
Yeah. Can someone live this disease out at home?
Depends on home safety and how much support they have. So none of these services that we bring it to your home are 24 hours a day. So the primary responsibility of taking care of this person with advanced dementia falls on the family members.
Yeah.
So when it becomes really overwhelming is you have to consider then either assisted living, memory care, or a full nursing home at that time.
Yeah. And is it real important for you to have these families realize that they're not alone in this?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's the resources that are out there that then prove to them that they aren't alone, yes?
Right,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
it's hard to find the resources. I work in healthcare, and it's hard to navigate the system. So for somebody who isn't in healthcare, it's really overwhelming
Right.
to be able to figure out what is out there, what are the services we can have, and sometimes it's just going to the physician to say, help, what's
Help me.
out there?
Yes,
Somebody needs to help me
absolutely.
navigate this system.
Yeah. In closing, but what's the best part about caring for a loved one at home? Is there a best part?
Now, I would certainly say that most of the patients that I've had that have been in that situation just tell me it's rewarding. You know, mom, dad, whoever, never wanted to go to the nursing home anyway.
Yeah.
And so this was their final wish. They were able to keep them at home, and that meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
It is highly rewarding, yes.
Thanks, you guys. We really appreciate your help. Lisa, thank you. Dr. Kumar, thank you so much. I want to thank our 5 experts. My takeaway from this experience is that there is always hope, and you don't have to go through this alone. Because of all of the resources, there should be no fear and no shame, because it's all about compassionate caregiving. This is Next Avenue Community Conversations. I'm John McGivern, and thank you for joining our conversation.
Everyone has memory lapses, okay, our senior moments. And don't panic if you have that or you can't find a word that you're going to say, especially like this. Forgetting things, leaving your keys places. There are normal things that people forget. That's just part of life.
While I was preparing for this, I went down a rabbit hole so deep. When it came to going online and seeing what are the signs, what can I do, are there tests? And there's tests online, these cognitive tests online that the result came back to me that said, not yet. So I thought that wasn't the right way to test myself.
The Milwaukee PBS Next Avenue Community Conversation Series is made possible through generous funding provided by the Helen Daniels Bader Fund, a Bader philanthropy.